Mela, we'll be doing Mathematics Paper 2, IEB. This is the May exam for 2023. Let's start with Section A, Question 1. I'll make sure that I see it through and we finish this paper. Now, in Question 1, it says that the data below gives the year marks out of 100 obtained by 8 pupils in mathematics and physical science. And mathematics will be X, physical science will be Y. And obviously, we have varying values there. That simply means that your math mark is independent. However, your science mark will depend on your math mark. That's what it actually means because X is independent and Y is dependent on the value of X. Now, we need to use a calculator to determine the equation for the line of best fit in the form. Give your answer correct to 3 decimal places. So we need to actually write it in that form. Y is equals to A plus B X. And you need to correct your answers to 3 decimal places. Now, how do we go about doing this? I'm going to start first by writing down the equation, which is a linear equation. It's a straight line equation, as you can tell. So your regression line will basically be a straight line equation. All right, let's do this quickly using a calculator. Now, this is the recommended calculator, okay? So what am I going to do first? I'm going to go to clear everything and make sure that everything is clear because I don't want to be experiencing problems and getting incorrect answers. Then you will go to mode, choose 2, and then choose the straight line equation, which will be 2 as well. Now we know that X is math and Y will be physics. So for math, we'll start with 67, 77 equal sign, 26 equal sign, 99 equal sign, 49 equal sign, 38 equal sign, 56 equal sign, 58 equal sign. Let's go to the Y's. So we're going to have 75 equal, 83 equal, 32 equal, 94 equal. And then we're going to have 94 equal, 61 equal. I'm just confirming that they correspond. So 49 goes with 61. The next one will be 44 equal, 65 equal, 68 equal. Perfect. Then you just press the AC button. Then go to Shift, then Statistics. We are dealing with regression lines here. Then you'll press 5. To find the value of A, you'll press 1. And then the equal sign. The value of A will be 14,533 because they said round it off to 3 decimal places. Okay, and this is what we will have. Let's go back to the calculator and calculate B. To calculate B, what are we going to have? You'll have Shift, Stats, and 5 regression, and then you'll go to B, and B will give you 0,863. Now, B here will be 0,863. Interestingly, B is positive, and you know from straight line equation, positive simply means a positive slope. However, obviously, the marks are in between here, so we don't have really, we can't actually tell that the relationship between X and Y will be a straight line equation, but obviously it should be a straight line equation because we are dealing with a linear equation. Substitute A and B into that linear standard form that we were given. So where there's A, you'll substitute 14,533, where there's B, you'll substitute 0,863. Okay. Now note that A and B in the standard form was substituted by the values that we calculated. You need to remember here that X is independent and Y is a dependent variable. All right, let's go to the next question. The next question simply wants us to calculate correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient simply determines the relationship between two given variables. Now we need to determine the relationship between the math mark and the science mark. Now, if your correlation coefficient is 0, it means that there's no relationship between x and y. If the correlation coefficient is close to positive 1, it means that there's a positive relationship between x and y. That means that the higher the x value, the higher the y value will be. The lower the x value, the lower the y value will be. If it's 0, as I've said, there's no relationship between the two. So the higher the maths value doesn't mean that the science value will also be high. Okay, it can be lower, way, way lower. All right. Now, if the correlation coefficient is negative, it means that the relationship between maths and science is negatively, it's actually negatively strong. Okay, so there's a negative strong relationship between the maths mark and the science mark. That is, if your R is close to -1. If R is close to -1, it means that the relationship between the two variables that we have here, which is x and y, the dependent and the independent variable, the relationship between the two will be negatively strong in essence. As I've said, if it's 0, then there is no relationship at all. There's no relationship between the two variables that you can be given, and that is between your dependent variable and the independent variable. Now, how do we calculate this correlation coefficient? I actually use this a lot when I estimate my matric marks, because I make sure that my prelim exam, I make sure that it's a little bit a step higher than the grade 12 final exam. I actually take the final exams and come up with my own questions, but that are very, very close to what will be asked at the end of the year. And so far, my prelim mark and my final exam metric mark, they are positively correlated. When they're sitting at 97%, I get happy because that tells me that for all these years, if my correlation coefficient is that, it means that my kids can easily get what they got in their prelim come the final exam. Okay, so this is actually used in the real world. We're not just using in math, right? When I calculate my correlation coefficient, I'm simply going to follow the same steps. All right, so what am I going to do? You press AC, then you go to shift, then you go to 1, you will go to 5, which is your regression line, and then number 3, which is R, press the equal sign, it will give you 0.979. And that can actually be reduced or basically given an estimate. The actual estimate here will be the approximate value will be 1. It's approximating 1. So there's a very, very positively strong relationship between the math mark and the science mark. Okay. Now, number 2, what does it say? This is B2. What does the correlation coefficient suggest about the relationship between the mathematics year mark and the physical science year mark? As I've said, this one simply tells you that there's a very strong positive relationship between X and Y. That is between your math mark and your physical science mark. Let me just read it out as it is. It says that a correlation coefficient is very close to +1. This means that there's a very close relationship between mathematics and physical science, and it's very, very strong, positively strong, that is. Now, in C, they say to you, Kaya obtained 70% for his mathematics year mark. He used the model in A to predict his physical science year mark. I'm going to go back to A and figure out what model are they talking about. We have an equation, which is a straight line equation there, where we have A is 14,533 and B is 0,863, where x is simply your independent variable maths and y is your dependent variable physical science. We are given, according to this, they gave us the independent variable math, which is 70. That means where there is x, we will substitute 70. Now, based on the correlation coefficient that I calculated in V1, I can say that whatever I'm going to get as the y value, since x is 70, whatever I'm going to get as the y value will be close to that 70 because there's a positive close relationship between x and y. Now, based on this, I can say that x is mathematics based, and obviously we are going to use it to find y. Know that y will also be close to 70 based on correlation coefficient. So as I've said, x is mathematics based on the given table. Use it to find y. Know that y will also be close to 70 based on the correlation coefficient. And when you substitute that, let's see if indeed it'll be close to 70. I'm going to press AC and I will simply put in there 14,533 plus 0,863 and open brackets, put 70 there, close brackets. That should give you the value of y, which will be 74,943. Okay, so y will be 74,943. As I've said, we expected it to be close to that, which is basically 74,9, or you can write it as, obviously, in this case, they said 3 decimal places. That's why I wrote it as 74,943. And that's all you needed to do to get 10 marks. Free marks, honestly, guys. Those were giveaway marks. Don't you think? All right. Check out the next video on mathematics grade 12 when I will be doing question 2. Again, thank you for watching. Pretoria, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Khotso.